up buildings. These actually are just boarded up buildings, closed down, but they came down here and painted storefront paintings to make it look like something's going on there.
Brother's funeral home.
Gave this area $10 million for renovations. They could have spent it on anything, housing, businesses, but they decided to spend that $10 million on the sidewalks that you see to your left here. In other words, they intended to waste some money that they had instead of put it to good use. $10 million. To your right, that tomb back in the back, that's Martin Luther King's tomb, his burial site. And prior to that, there's this eternal flame that burns constantly. Touch the communities and talk to these kids and tell them that violence is not the way to get their point across. And up here on the left, you see some of the houses that were built. This brown and yellow home you see to your right was the birth home of Martin Luther King. You can take visits to this home. This brown one is lit up very well right there in front of you, yellow and brown. They still have his desk and some of his books and other artifacts that he has as a child inside here. Like I said, you can take tours of this house. It's now a National Historical Site. I'm sure they does not believe that the homeless problem is a city problem. They say it's a state or county problem, but certainly not a city problem. So what does the city of Atlanta intend to do with the homeless? Well, right now they are thinking about tearing down government housing and taking these people, by 700 families per government housing, and pushing them out to the suburbs. Oh boy, it's a bonus.
Man, we're getting all the trees. That's cool.
It really was have to flip off you try to swap.
Jeez. Police officer. Yeah, you're cool. So are you.
Holy cow.
Oh my.
Four. There's the camera. There's 8, 9 cop cars. That's more than our whole city. There's a Worthington police.
A lot of people drive without their licenses.
So you're just
That was the Worthington here today, but they come out at night, about 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, take over abandoned warehouses, do a lot of drugs and other criminal activity. This is the area that you're going to start seeing some of the decay in. Like I said earlier, the city of Atlanta is not saying that the homeless problem is their problem, but someone else's problem. Now, at SafeHouse, 6 weeks ago, I had a guy come to my door. He was brutally honest with me. He said that I believe that SafeHouse takes care of my needs, my food 3 times a day, my clothing. I'm so confident in that I will spend my $500 Social Security check every month on drugs, knowing that you supply my needs. When he told me that, I realized that we had to change the way we're doing things. So we stopped giving out food during the day. We only feed it during the 5 services we have during the week. We started giving out clothing during the day. We don't do that no more. What we did start 6 weeks ago was a job placement program where we started a relationship with Waffle House, some other companies, where they came down to our facility and did interviews. We had a contract with the homeless. We'll do our part. We'll get you a job, we get you clothing, we get you a MARTA pass or bus fare. Your part of the deal is that you show up for work, be on time, and use the things that we give you for the job. In the past 6 weeks, 125 homeless men and women have received jobs, and to this day, 100 of them are still working. Wow. That's amazing. Waffle House alone says they have never seen such results with any temp service that they're using. These guys do not want to burn that bridge with us. So if I cut them off, and if I find out they quit, if I find out they don't show up, if I find out that they don't use their stuff for their job, I will cut them off for 90 days. I won't give them a stick of gum for 90 days. It's a tough love type of thing that we're doing. That's one of the reasons that it's working so well. We're not waiting for the city of Atlanta to do something about the problem. We're doing something about the problem. We're sending about 15 men per month to rehab. Those people who can't go to work because of drug addiction, we'll take care of that. We'll send them to rehab for 1 year. After that 1 year is over with, we'll plug them into a job. So whatever your excuse is, we'll take care of that excuse. But we're not going to put up with it no more. Now we're going to Grady Homes. This is government housing. 730 families live here. Working with the homeless like we do, we get criticized sometimes. Even my own family has criticized me, saying that you never change the homeless want to be homeless. People who live in government housing want to live here. We come out here and do an impact every year. On this playground that you see to your right, we clean it up every summer. When we come out here, we found needles and syringes and other drug paraphernalia right here on this playground where kids are playing. We had a girl with us the whole day, one day last year in July, very hot day. She's 7 years old, long black hair, beautiful girl. Her mother OD'd on crack, and no one knew where the father was. She lives with her grandmother and 2 other elderly men. She couldn't stand the heat that day, the grandmother couldn't. Just left the girl with us, didn't tell us where she was going, and walked off. So we had this little girl with us the whole day. We did face painting, told her about Jesus. That evening, we walked her back to her apartment. She lives in a 700 square foot room with her grandmother and 2 other elderly men. They have no concept of what this little girl needs. This little girl never gets to watch the TV shows that she wants to watch, never has a friend over, so she never has the lifestyle of most kids. She hugged us, told us that she loved us, and didn't want us to leave that night. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a circumstance why that girl is here. She can't help it. Most of the homeless that you see on the streets are there by circumstance. We have NFL football players that are walking the streets. The guy that played for the Rams during the early 70s got injured, he got hooked on drugs. He's on the streets now. He was making $80,000 a year in 1974. To your right, it's a community garden. Everyone who lives here participates in this garden. This is our rapid transit system here in Atlanta, our bus and rail system. Behind this building is known for a lot of drugs and prostitution. Over to your right is the front of Grady Homes and the skyline of Atlanta above it. Just like you see on TV on ER, if you get shot or stabbed, that's a great place to go. But if you have some elective surgery, you don't want to go there. Every police officer who has a run-in with a criminal, if that criminal gets hurt or injured, they take him to Grady Hospital. So you got that crime element walking around. Behind Grady Hospital is a pharmacy. In this pharmacy, a lot of the homeless get their prescriptions filled, and the drug dealers and pushers will meet them behind the pharmacy trading crack cocaine for their prescriptions. The homeless, if they're addicted, the homeless will trade their shirts, their shoes, whatever they have for drugs. It's one of the main colleges here in Atlanta, along with Georgia Tech. 2 years ago, they did a national go. God will make a way for you where there is no way. Amen. Across the country for the homeless. In Santa Ana, California, there is a law they have against the homeless that says it's illegal to give away free food. If y'all went to the park in Santa Ana, California, and gave away free food, you could be arrested for that. In the city of Atlanta, we have a bogus law too. If a homeless person walks across a parking lot and does not own a car in that parking lot, he could be arrested. Notice this abandoned motel here on your right. You can imagine what goes on in this place. Once again, we're a couple blocks away from downtown, the Rolls-Royce dealership and the Prosperity. But in here, there's a woman walking back behind that bush right by the door. So there's some of the homeless sleep there. There's drugs going on in there, prostitution.
Why don't they tear that stuff down?
Well, apparently whoever owns that building is waiting for the right price, probably a couple of $1 million or whatever. Now, we would love to have that property and tear it down and use the parking for the ministry, or charge people to park there and use the money for the ministry, or just rebuild a place for the homeless. You notice the '96 Olympics on TV? Anybody?
Yeah.
If you watch the '96 Olympics on TV, you notice there was no homeless people on TV. Why do you think there was no homeless on TV? Anybody? Well, first of all, they offered a bus ticket to any one of them who want to leave Atlanta for 2 weeks to anywhere in the United States. Free bus ticket anywhere. For those people who did not take the bus ticket, they arrested over 9,500 homeless men and women and put them in jail for 2 weeks for criminal trespass. The Task Force for the Homeless has a stack of arrest warrants and records where they were arrested in 96. Some of you say, well, isn't that good? At least the homeless person will be in a place where it's a roof over their heads and food. Well, if a homeless person gets arrested, first of all, criminal trespass will stay on their record. If they do get a job, if they do try to get out of their situation, and they try to get a loan for a house, criminal trespass is going to show up. And all they did was stand on a corner somewhere and got arrested. But that criminal trespass to me and you looks like they were on government property or did something terrible. So we're asking that local judges in this area take that off their record. If you're going to arrest them, take it off their record so they don't suffer for it, because they didn't really do anything. Besides that, a homeless person has usually one bag to his name. In this one bag, he has everything that he owns. More likely, when he gets arrested, that thing will be thrown outside by the dumpster, or someone will take it. He'll never see it again. Men and women who sleep on the streets will sleep with their tennis shoes in their hand, knowing if they leave them on their feet, they'll be gone the next morning. Someone will steal them. People get stabbed and killed all the time for petty change in their pocket. So they'll kill you for shoes. On your left, this is some of the artwork that was done primarily for the Olympics. I never knew exactly what this is named up here with the woman and the man on the bench, park bench. It looks like a man getting fussed out by a wife or something. Yes, there's usually guys sleeping back there on the grassy banks. You can see where their stuff is. They sleep out there all day long, not just at night, but during the day you can drive by here and be about 10 of them sleeping there. Up here, you see some guys on the loading dock. There's behind you on that sidewalk behind you see them sleeping as well. Now these are guys who choose not to go to shelters, or maybe there's no room for a shelter and they're on the streets. There's one shelter downtown Atlanta, Peachtree and Pine, that has about 400 men every night stay in the shelter. They sleep on a mattress that's about a ½ inch thick. This is what Grady Homes, people in the city of Atlanta, wants to see over at Grady Homes. These go for about $2,500 to $3,000 a month. So the city of Atlanta wants to see this over there where the government housing is located. The Christian faith is looked down upon. We're considered a weak faith because we have love and forgiveness. Your Jehovah's Witnesses, your Hare Krishnas, your Satanic Church, they're highly regarded in Atlanta, but our faith, the Christian faith, is looked down upon and even made fun of. Case in point, there's a restaurant up here on top of the hill, way up there where you see that white sign. It says Abbey, in red letters, A-B-B-E-Y, that's the Abbey, way there on top of the hill. The Abbey is a restaurant. Many years ago, it used to be a church. And the church moved along, and the owners of the church sold that church to two homosexuals. They turned the church into a restaurant. And today, inside this restaurant, the waiters will wear a monk's outfit, the waitresses wear nuns' outfits, and where the altar was in the church where they used to confess their sins is now a bar. They make fun of it being a church. They make light of it. In front of the church, there's a huge cross that has a light shining down upon it. This cross used to lay down on its side, just lay there with a light shining on it. I did a tour last week with a group like yours, and they came back the next night after the tour, and they ran up here and stood that cross up with no one knowing about it. They took a picture of it and everything, so it was laying down on its side, but the team that we had last week came up here and stood the cross up and leaned it against the wall. So at least it's not laying down. You didn't have to turn. The church, North Avenue Church is 100 years old. They said they would quit being a church. They would disband as a church before they stopped helping the homeless. The bottom floor of the church has a daycare where they keep 30 to 40 homeless children every day. 30 to 40 homeless children every day. Street. And don't ever give people directions to Atlanta using Peachtree. There's 32 Peachtree streets in Atlanta. And it was not even named after a peach tree, but it was named after Pitch Tree, which was a Cherokee Indian tribe back in the 1800s near the Chattahoochee River. That's where it got its name, Pitch Tree. So they just named it Peachtree. 32 of them here in the city of Atlanta. Over here in a few minutes to your left, it's a Fox Theater. The Fox Theater is where they have operas and musicals. It was voted the #1 theater in the United States, even beating out theaters in New York City. Across the street is the Georgia Terrace Hotel. Very beautiful hotel. Many years ago, on a cold night in December, the Fox was showing Gone with the Wind. Across the street, this Georgia Terrace Hotel was just an abandoned, gutted out building. 32 homeless men and women were sleeping inside, keeping warm with blankets and candles. While across the streets, they were enjoying their movie. They had limousines lined up and down the street. That cold night, one of those candles fell over, caught the blankets on fire, and all 32 people died in that building. While across the street, they had no idea what was going on because they were enjoying their movie. The price they spent for those limousines could easily pay for a room for those homeless guys to sleep in. Once again, it shows you the contrast. Rich, poor, how the rich look at the poor in the city of Atlanta. A few blocks from here is Cypress Street. Cypress Street used to be the main male prostitution street of Atlanta. We can't go down there tonight because they're doing construction. But Cypress Street is where Philip Bray went down to witness one night. And he ran across an 8-year-old male prostitute. It was during the AIDS epidemic many years ago. And they figured that the younger the person was, the least likely that person would have AIDS. So this 8-year-old boy is making $120 a trick. Philip Bray went down there and witnessed to him, told him about Jesus. But that $120 in that little boy's hand spoke volumes over anything that Philip had to say, so he didn't receive him. 5 weeks passed, and Philip didn't see that boy no more. He's starting to wonder what had happened. On that 5th week, he went down there, ran across someone who said that they had found a boy dead in a dumpster with his throat slashed. Apparently, whoever had picked him up last didn't feel that he was worthy enough to pay, that no one would miss him, and they killed him, threw him in the trash. Tonight, you don't see that many prostitutes on the streets. Most of them have gone underground. And underground, I mean they go to the back doors, the clubs and bars. They go into the back doors and mingle inside, and that's where they pick up their clients. But occasionally, you still see them on the streets. Juniper Street used to be the main, Juniper Street used to be the main female prostitution street of Atlanta. On top of these apartments next to you, at any given moment, they can look down and see 20 prostitutes being picked up. Just about 5 to 6 years ago. So they were covering this area pretty well. But there are still 3 local bars in this area. One's called the Back Street, one's called the Local Luna, and one's called the Armory. Can anybody tell me what they think these bars are? Yes, sir, they are. These are gay bars in this area. The gay population of Atlanta takes pride in the fact that they believe that our population of the homosexuals in this area rivals San Francisco's. And you'll see tonight there's a lot of homosexual bars in this area. Actually seen back at the Back Street. In the corner is the Local Luna, that's your country and western gay bar. And right here is the Armory to your immediate right. That's your Village People macho gay bar.
Village People. YMCA.
Had a sign up that said Spice. Now I was thinking it's going to be a Martha Stewart store, but it didn't turn out that way. It's a club. There's the billboard showing what it really does. Today it still looks very much like a church. And as we go forward straight, if you look over your right shoulder as far back as you can, behind a tree, is where that cross is located. And the last time I came by here, you couldn't see it because they had stood it up. So I don't know if they have lowered it down yet. In Atlanta, It is, of course, the Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
AIDS, HIV hospital.
Have you ever been in there before?
No, I haven't, but Revolution, the team that's there tonight, the people who are doing Revolution, they took a group of people and went in there and prayed for some people. They went down to each room, each floor.
Is there a way to do that this way?
You can contact them if you want. But that's all they do, HIV, full-blown AIDS. The first is why you're homeless, according to the Task Force for the Homeless, is evictions. You've been evicted from your place. You have no plan B, no family to help you out. Or just being transferred. You just come to Atlanta, find a new area, and you get stuck. We get homeless people from Florida who come up here thinking that Atlanta has all these great jobs and find out they don't. And they're stuck. They don't have no plan B. They have no way to get home. We get homeless people from New York City. It's too cold to be homeless in New York City, so they come down here to be homeless. Here on the right, called the Claremont Hotel, the Claremont Lounge. The Claremont was the site where Philip Bray came down here because a prostitute called him and said, please meet me behind the Claremont Lounge. Well, he came down here by himself, went behind the Claremont, which is right up here to your right, saw the prostitute and was going to approach her. As he was walking towards her, her pimp came out from behind a tree and hit him in the head with a crowbar and left Philip for dead. Knocked him out. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks. He got a letter from that pimp stating that you cost me over $60,000 in business because you come down to these streets, witness to these prostitutes, and they stop prostituting. Early 30s and 20s. Al Capone, if you know who Al Capone was, when he came down to Atlanta, he would stay on the top floor of that building. It's a project building?
Right here?
Apartment building? Yeah, this first tall brick building to your left. Actually, it's right there, just past. It's the main one to your left here. Right behind. The supermarket, but many years ago, Harry's in a hurry, this building was a Plaza drugstore. And during the height of the AIDS epidemic, this drugstore had a bright idea. They said that we will give away free needles and free syringes to all the homeless. That way, they won't be passing the same needle one person to another. That way you won't be passing the AIDS virus. Well, that was a terrible idea because all the drug dealers will meet them at the front door selling drugs knowing they had the needles and the syringes. It'd be like if I gave you a key to the Krispy Kreme donut shop. That would be